First
Man,
one, two,
listen,
three,
Bret Bret Hart, I feel like, if I'm gonna be honest, I feel like Bret has become one of the most disrespected legends of this era. Partially because he's done it to himself a little bit. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like a lot of the complaining that he's done about the Goldberg stuff and about, things that he said, like about Triple H or whatever. Like I feel like he's put a little bit of it on himself. But we got to stop pretending Bret isn't like one of the best bell-to-bell in-ring technicians, best bell-to-bell wrestlers you will ever see.
One of the
His
greatest of
matches
all
with
time, straight up.
Y'all
Forget
be
in ring.
hating on Bret
One of the
because
greatest
he
of all time. Period.
talks in interviews. That's the lamest justification to hate someone I've ever seen. Oh, he cried on interviews. Who gives a fuck, bro? Shut
Dave,
up.
you did a breakdown of what happened to that man in the span of 6 years. Man got screwed. His brother died. He had a stroke. He lost his career, and his dad died in the span of 6 years. I'd be pissed too.
And not to mention too, the screw job was kind of nasty. I'm not gonna, if you know the context behind
foul, bro, foul.
Like if you look at,
I don't think it was that nasty for real.
No,
we've had this conversation. No, looking back, no, because I remember we had this convo the night of WrestleMania 40. I remember very vividly, and you brought up the Medusa thing. Let me tell you the difference between
Bret was never going to do that, bro.
Wait, no. Let me tell you the difference between when she dropped the title in the trash.
I was thinking of the difference, mythology. My fault. I was like, what?
Oh, you good? Let me tell you the difference, bro. Medusa or Alundra Blaze was the WWF Women's Champion when she was released, and they just completely axed the entire division. She took that as a flat out disrespect because that straight up. What Bret did, what the difference between them, Bret was still under contract. Bret had creative control in his contract. If he says, I'll lose to anybody at this show, except that nigga that completely disrespected me, he has the right to kind of say that while still under contract.
Did he? Wait, in WWE he had creative control?
Yeah. His deal that he signed in 96, I believe.
So
after WrestleMania 12 had creative control.
To backtrack the context, Bret Hart was offered a lot of money to go to WCW before he even went there. A lot of money. He took less money to stay with WWE, and they put him in a 20-year deal. He signed a 20-year contract with the company, only for Vince to go back on his word and say we can't, we can't keep word on the contract, and basically told Bret you should go to WCW. Go ahead and go to WCW.
They were losing the war.
We can't keep your word for the contract. It basically was at a point where him and Shawn were butting heads because Vince wanted Bret and Shawn to work together and do business, and Bret was like, fine, whatever. We don't like each other, but business is business. He said, Shawn, even though you and I don't get along right now, I have no problem putting you over. Shawn Michaels looked the nigga dead in the eye and said, I appreciate it, but I would never do the same for you. So he basically told Bret, I would never put you over. I would never do that for you at all. Bret was like, well, okay, I don't want to work with this guy. I'm not working with him. He's unprofessional. We can't do it. He told Vince, I'll work with anybody at Survivor Series, anybody, just not Shawn Michaels. He's putting him against the guy that he knows he hates more than anybody, purposely. Knowing that, hey, we don't get along, we don't like each other, even though we've seen people do it in the past. This guy has disrespected me on so many levels. What else could we do? They literally came up with the plan about this is what we'll do. We could drop it to you the next night, whatever you want to do. Like
they literally had a whole plan.
Whatever you want. We could do it. I'll give you the belt the next night on Raw, whatever you want. Only for him to get screwed in that fashion. They screwed one of the best, most loyal superstars they had of that era, during an era that was bad, through the bad era that they had. Bret, Shawn, and Taker were the three most loyal soldiers they had in that time frame. Bret was offered a lot of money till you leave right after the WrestleMania match. Could have bounced for the check like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall did. Said, I'm going to stay here because I know it's going to be better here for me wrestling-wise. Stories are going to be better here. It's just going to be better in general than going to WCW. Because basically what happened in WCW, what Bret happened to him over there was his biggest fear. Like, if I go over there, they're not going to know what to do. Nobody's has, control over who's running the ship over there. Like, it's just chaos over there. What happened over there literally is what he said I did not want to go over there for. In the entire purpose of
Hulk Hogan's bitch. Like, it's
I want to hear G's response, bro. I know he's going to piss me off. Go ahead.
I mean, I got a couple things to say because, like, Malik, you said, he was like, you know what, I don't got a problem putting you over. And Shawn Michaels was like, I appreciate that. I'll never do that for you.
Nasty.
So why he mad? Because he told him the truth. Would he have preferred him to lie?
It's unprofessional.
It's disrespectful.
What the fuck?
I would rather, me personally, somebody just be straight honest with me, right? So that way, look, hey, ain't no BS, ain't no And, hey, I don't want that fake love stuff. I can't stand when people at work or at my job try to act like we cool when I know good and well they hate the spot I'm in. I dealt with that.
You ain't gonna act like you're cool in wrestling. Edge and Lita and Matt Hardy didn't like each other at the time, but they were still professional enough to go out there and do business the right way. Like there's different layers to it.
So I bet you if Matt Hardy would have said to Edge, "Yeah, I really hate that I'm putting you over. I hate that. I don't want to do it." Edge would have been like, "Well, at least you're honest." They kept it pushing. It was Edge's fault they was in that, but I get it's different. I don't want to get too much on that. This is all I'll say. This is all I'll say when it comes to that, right? At the end of the day, though, I get because you're loyal. You were loyal to the company. You chose them over. I get you would want some type of, hey, I was loyal, kind of give me a little bit of slack. Give me a little bit of thing. Mo, I am going to have to confirm the creative control because that is the first time I've ever heard that he actually
I found that out after
so I will have to kind of do some more research on that. But just going based off of what I've been known, right? Yeah. The way I feel, hey, bro, look, I know you don't like it. I know you wish it didn't happen. But to me, especially because he knew, there's no way Bret didn't know how Vince felt about him taking that title. Because even though Bret was loyal, this, that, and the third, you can't take that risk. Because technically, there's nothing legally Vince could have done if he would have shown up on Nitro that next night with that title. Nothing legally he could have done.
I'm pretty sure he was still under contract. I'm pretty
No, but that was the whole thing. It was because he could go to Nitro the next night. If Bret couldn't do that, we're having a different conversation.
Let me confirm.
Bro, literally,
his contract was over the very next night on Raw, which Bret said he'll lose it the next night.
He could have been
okay, but the whole thing. I mean, granted, we can say Vince was lying and we can come out, but ain't nobody disputed it. At least that I've seen. Literally, if Bret wanted to go to Nitro, that was their big concern. That's what. If Bret couldn't have gone to Nitro that next night, I don't think it would have been that big of a deal. The big concern was they did not want him going to Nitro the next night and taking that risk of him being like, "Oh yeah, I walked out with that championship," because I'm pretty sure Bret felt some type of way about Vince having to go back on that contract that he signed.
Yes, he
I'm pretty sure he felt some type of way. So I'm pretty sure they're thinking, well, what if he decide, he get home late at night and he's like, you know what, screw this. I'm going to Nitro. I can't believe Vince would go back on his yada, yada, yada. I think that was the whole reason. If legally they could have sued him and pretty much would have won, if he would have showed up the next night, I don't think that would have been an issue. I think that's why that was the big issue, because they did not want him going the next night to Nitro with that title. Alundra Blaze, I get it. It's a little different. They asked the division. I could feel a little bit more disrespectful. But if I'm Vince, I'm not going to take that risk again. And I know on TikTok and Twitter, and there's a little bit more of a trend about unwritten rules. It was always an unwritten rule that you lost on your way out. I get Bret was trying to do it the next night, but if what the contract thing was true, he was not contractually obligated to do that the next night. He could have went to the other brand. So if that was the case, they had to knock it out right there. And let's be real. I saw somebody a while ago post like, oh, well, it didn't have to be Shawn. You could have done this, this, and that. Because when Shawn and Taker fought in like a steel cage, right? Like afterward, not too long after. And that's when we got the
bad blood stuff.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah. The Kane debut. I saw somebody say you still could have done something and still got the debut and it would have been fine. But like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that was the big deal. If Bret was contractually obligated to be at Raw that next or that Monday.
Okay, so
go ahead.
Only thing I got to say about that, you're not wrong for what you said. Yeah, I mean that was the fear of why they screwed him and everything, because they were probably afraid that Bret was going to take the title of the WCW and this is the WWF title. Understandable. This whole thing could have been avoided if they just didn't have him work with Shawn Michaels. That was the only thing. If they didn't have him work with Shawn Michaels, they wouldn't have had the issue.
Who else is going to win that title?
They could have put it back on
Undertaker.
They literally could have put it back on Undertaker right there.
They just had a program right there.
It was that simple to avoid.
Or it was right there.
They could have just pivoted, since Bad Blood was a month before, they could have just pivoted that to Survivor Series. It was only a month later. They could have just did everything they did at Bad Blood and just did it at Survivor Series. The whole debut and everything. Like, they could have just stretched it out maybe a month longer and just did what they did right there. Like, Bret Hart said, I'll
There were
lose
so
to,
many solutions.
I'll
They
lose
just
to
chose
anybody.
not to do it.
Just don't want to work with Shawn Michaels. And this isn't the first time Shawn Michaels, quote unquote,
Fucked him over.
Because the
That
match
same year.
the match that Bret Hart and Austin had at WrestleMania, that wasn't supposed to happen. It was supposed to be Bret and Shawn in the rematch. And Shawn was supposed to put Bret over because he
And
put him
Shawn
over the year
faked the
before. And then when Bret came back after having a vacation, all of a sudden plans had changed. And Bret was like, what you mean plans had changed? What's going on? Shawn, this and that. It was too much favoritism going to Shawn Michaels. Like, why is Shawn Michaels always getting favored when he doesn't want to put somebody over? And it had been an ongoing thing in the 90s when he lost his smile and different things. Like, he would win titles, and then all of a sudden, I can't put you over. I lost my smile or something like that. It happened a lot during that time, bro. So it was an ongoing issue. Like, why is this guy winning championships? He don't want to put other people over when the right moment is to come. Like, we all know in wrestling, everybody's going to get their moment, but you also supposed to pay the receipt back by putting others over to help either better a story or to make other stars. So when it's becoming an ongoing issue and Bret is realizing that and don't want to deal with it, he is justified to feel that way when it's been a repetitive thing going on with the same guy.
And my last thing on that, I don't disagree that Bret wasn't justified. He is justified 100%. I am validating your feelings, Bret Hart. He is justified 100% in how he was feeling. I don't blame him. That's just human. Like, I don't blame for the way he was feeling. He really ain't want to work with the dude.
Right.
I'm just and Mo, maybe I'll find something and I'll come back and be like, okay, he did have creative control. He did have to be there the next night.
That I know for sure. He had.
And so I'll do my research because again, this is the first I've ever heard of that. This is the first I've ever heard of that.
I'll send you a doc.
All right,
yeah, Shawn was out of control at that time too. Remember, because he almost didn't go out there for the Stone Cold match. He almost ruined that too.
He didn't want to put Stone Cold over.
They had to convince him to go out there, and rumor has, I don't know for sure, but they said Undertaker was in that gorilla with them fist taped up. Like, I'm gonna drag your ass out there, bro. If you want to go out there and do business, bro. Like, it was hard. It was difficult to work with Shawn back then.
Yeah, right. And I get it. You know what I'm saying? But I just think, and then also you also got to take into account this is also around the time that WWE still keeps getting their ass whooped, right? If I'm not mistaken, this is still when they was getting their ass whooped. This is in the 84 weeks. 97, yeah. Yeah. This is still in them 84 weeks or 82 weeks, whatever. I hear y'all with the Undertaker. I'm not saying because it's the Undertaker. He gonna make something work, right?
Right.
But like, realistically,
he was the champion that year.
I'm not saying he wasn't the champion that year.
Winning the main event of WrestleMania.
That's cool. Who he beat?
And then they literally had a program with him and Shawn right after that.
You don't want to put it back on Sid.
I don't
understand.
I just don't. Me personally, now if I come to find out that he actually like legit had to be there the next night and like legally they could have sued him for everything he owned if he would have went, that might change my opinion a little bit, right? Because you had him fine.
Someone said Bret was a diva. Then what was Shawn?
We know what Shawn was.
Exactly. Meat moot.
But if he could have went to Nitro the next night, if I find it like if he could have went to Nitro the next night and not been like sued or nothing like that, I'm standing 10 toes down. They should have did exactly what they did.
Well, he didn't show up on Nitro the next night. They just announced he was going to sign.
They should have done it. Morally, that shit is wrong. I don't care what the fucking justification is.
I mean,
morally, that shit is
wrong. We already pretty much knew Bret was going there after he put the WCW logo. He drew it in the sign after he got screwed.
After they
screwed
him,
like, oh, he's going to WCW.
Side note though, as a conspiracy theorist fan myself though, when people talk about how that thing was planned, I'm like, this is the one that got me.
Be one of the greatest works ever.
Right, but this is what got me that like this was probably planned. They said because if it wasn't, how did the cameras know to zoom in and perfectly pan on Vince McMahon getting spat on and Bret Hart doing the WCW? Because the only reason I say that, when niggas really do shit that they don't really expect, they'll be scrambling. Hey, we don't want to see that. Get that off. Don't show it. Don't show it. That's the only reason why I was like, ooh, that low.
The actual pay-per-view? Well, the actual pay-per-view, they shut it down real quick. Like, once Bret was done, once they finished the match, like as soon as Shawn was running to the back, they shut the show off.
Cut it off. They cut it off.
Show was off.
Oh,
So it was like afterwards.
Everything else was off air.
Oh, so on the pay-per-view, they didn't zoom in on Vince.
No, if you go back and watch the pay-per-view and everything, like it's different. It's different. It's different.
Oh.
It's different.
That might change some things then. I don't know.
What you mean change some things?
Hey, man. So you mean to tell me they knew immediately to go ahead and end the show right then and there? They knew? Just...
Yeah. I mean, Vince probably told them.
They went off script.
Shut down the show. Go. As soon as we're done, shut it down.
So on the next night, did they show the highlights of what happened after?
No.
They talked about it.
I've seen that episode. No.
Oh, okay.
No, they never. Well, they had
Shawn mentioned
they had the Vince promo about the Bret screwed Bret, but
yeah, of course.
The only, I mean, it's a revisionist history. Without the Montreal Screwjob, we don't get the Vince McMahon character. We don't get the WWF winning the Attitude Era and propelling them up further because nobody really knew Vince was the owner of the company at that time. Nobody really knew his position. So once we found out he was the boss and he was the owner, that helped the Vince character on TV. And then Stone Cold came up in the rankings, and then The Rock came up, and then Triple H, and like all the other people started to rise up and everything. And then they got Jericho, and Big Show came over too. Like things started to change. So without the Montreal Screwjob is a very vocal point for the WWE winning the Monday Night Wars. But in hindsight, it was at an expense of a superstar who was very loyal to the company and got done wrong. So in the end, like I said, I think Bret Hart, he's done a lot of criticism to himself over the years by things he has spoke about in the interviews. But if people actually really listen to what he says, and like he has valid points in understanding like reasons why he feels the way he feels, because he was in a position that was wrong for him.
And here's the thing, bro. People forget too. He's in interviews where they ask him questions about these situations. It's not like Bret is like, fuck your question. Let's talk about Bill Goldberg. No, they're asking him, how do you feel about Goldberg? How do you feel about the situation? It's the interviewer's fault for them consistently asking them about the same goddamn things every single time.
Right. So I feel like it's a double-edged sword with the Hitman, unfortunately. Like he's also one of the most important wrestlers of that time frame as well. Like he helped make Stone Cold a star. He brought the ladder match to WWE. Like he tried to help make others within that time frame as well. So he's one of the most important people they had during that time that wasn't really looked at necessarily as a good time to watch. That's probably the worst era WWE's ever had, the New Generation era, when it comes to it.
I don't even think it's close.
You think of the worst eras in WWE, people could talk about the PG era from like 2010 to 2012. You could talk about 2018, 2019 WWE, which weren't great eras, but the New Generation era had bad stories, bad characters, all-time shows that were bottom tier, and literally the company was like going bankrupt. They could have died. Like they could have went out of business. It was that bad. Like King of the Ring 95, Royal Rumble 95 as a whole. That whole year.
Diesel as a champion was so bad they had to go back to Bret. They went back to Bret 3 times because Shawn, Diesel, and Lex Luger could not fucking draw worth of shit.
Bob Backlund too.
None of them dudes could draw worth of shit. Everyone wanted Bret back. Like,
so what it sounds like is when the bar is already in hell.
Oh no!
The entire business was down.
When your competition.
That's my point.
No.
WCW.
You know what? I'm gonna pull up this essay because this nigga G keep pissing me off. I'm gonna pull up this fucking essay. Yeah.
Essay.
You remember the essay I put it at Discord? Yeah. I'm gonna read this whole shit to you, nigga.
What essay?
I'm gonna read this whole shit to you.
I don't know what essay he talking about.
About Bret Hart, because I'm tired of the disrespect. You know what?
You wrote an essay about Bret Hart?
Nah, it's just so when niggas keep trolling me in the Discord, I'm gonna just copy and paste and I'm not gonna respond. That's all I do. But here it is.
Somebody just texted me and said, "Great cook, G." When I said
he cooked fucking chitlins. But anyway, let's go ahead. I'm not gonna read the whole essay. I'm gonna just say my point on why, like his competition. When you have Taker, Shawn, Owen, Razor, and Diesel, that's not competition in the main event scene. That's not competition.
But I'm talking about when they said they had to keep going back to Bret because everybody else couldn't draw that they put with the world title.
Yeah, because they kept making the wrong choices. And then when they went to him, he was produced. It's not like they just went to him and it was like, all right, No, the main event scene was actually great when they went back to him. The Owen feud.
When they was getting their ass whooped. When they was getting their ass whooped.
No, they were not.
No.
What era are we talking about? I'm asking.
It's the mid-90s.
Mid-90s, when they kept going back to him in terms of him holding the world title, he was producing high quality.
Right.
Brett's end. Okay, so Brett's end was good, but they were losing the ratings, but that wasn't on Bret Hart's fault. WCW just had a better product at the time that was producing.
So do we not? So I'm just gonna ask one more question, and then because we already hit 2 hours, so I'm gonna just ask one more question. So we don't y'all think it's a coincidence, or you think there's a little bit of kind of makes sense behind it when they started winning after they got Bret up out of there? Y'all find it a coincidence?
It's because of the
Screwjob. WCW ran themselves.
Yeah, the Screwjob. So look. So the Screwjob.
That's not when they started winning.
I didn't say that's when they started winning, but that's when they started going on the up. And
but
wait. No. I'm not. I know the moment they won. Mick Foley. I get it. I know when that happened. I know when they won for the first time. But I'm saying Malik, you just said it. That the Montreal Screwjob is what birthed the Vince McMahon character, which birthed the Stone Cold Austin feud, and we got The Rock, and like that was the catalyst for things changing. Like we can all agree that the birth of the Vince McMahon character, right? You can almost say save WWE. Like yes, you have to still build up Stone Cold. You still have to get The Rock, but they always like that was the biggest bad. That was damn near the biggest heel. That was one of the biggest heels ever. Right,
the heel, yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. In order for that to happen, who they have to sacrifice and get rid of?
So okay,
but to play what you say, devil's advocate for that,
Nick, he's not cooking nothing. Because here we go.
Well, hey, one of the main reasons that they won the Monday Night Wars too is because WCW got ass after that time. When you have the Finger Poke of Doom, and you have shows like Bash at the Beach 2000, when you have the NWO. Who collectively everybody was joining at that time. Everybody was in the NWO. They had to create a second NWO.
Brett leaving. So okay, let me ask you this, G. If they didn't do the screw job and Brett just left how they were going to have him leave, will it have the same effect? No, it's not Brett leaving. It's not Brett leaving.
What do you mean? Would it have? Wait. What do you mean? Would it have the same?
It wouldn't have the same effect in terms of WWE starting to win.
Right, because the Vince McMahon character. No, I'm saying they had to sacrifice him. Not that he left. They sacrificed him. He got sacrificed. They said in order for us to win, we have to sacrifice the Hitman. Because here's my thing, Mo.
No.
Hey, Malik, you also said that WCW also started to get ass. We don't find it funny they started to get ass when Bret got there?
That wasn't because of Brett.
I didn't say it was because of him, but he could be. Hey,
him not being booked well was a reason they became ass. Why are we fucking lying?
Hey, I'm just saying. I just find it funny how all of a sudden Bret Hart.
I like how you're trying to paint this as Bret's fault in some way, bro.
I just find it funny. I love how when Bret gets to WCW, all of a sudden.
I hope you know that.
All I'm saying is when Bret got to WCW, all of a sudden they didn't know how to book the shows no more. They started being extra. That's all I'm saying. It just
Plus, they were asked in 94, they were asked in 95, and they were asked for the first half of 96. So we're not going to do
And then
that.
they started to become ass again by the end of 97. So
yeah, literally.
Starrcade 97 is one of the biggest
they had
fumbles
Larry
they've ever had.
Sabisco versus Eric Bischoff as a pay-per-view match. That is one Larry Sabisco match I have seen.
Plus, when WCW really started to get really, really bad, Bret Hart wasn't one of the people on the show that was one of the bad vocal points. They had a storyline built up with Sting and Hulk Hogan that was perfectly done, one of the best stories ever told, only for them to have a poor execution. This is why WCW was dying, because their overall creative content, not to mention, nobody knew who was in charge of the show. One week it could be Hulk Hogan, then it could be Kevin Nash, then it could be Eric Bischoff, then it could be Vince Russo. Like, they didn't have a structure over there as far as who was running the show. And they actually had real creative control over there for things. Like, if Hulk Hogan said, hey, I'm not losing this match, Hulk Hogan's not losing that match. Like,
he's not losing.
Kevin Nash was the booker.
Right. I 100%. I know. I'm just
They literally.
I just find it funny.
Did you know this? They literally ended Goldberg's undefeated streak. You know what they did after that? Finger Poke of Doom. Right after. They literally ended the
same show or the week after. Like the same show or the week
Like,
after?
days after.
8 days
Oh,
after.
days after.
8
Oh,
days.
oh.
8 days.
Wait, who beat Goldberg again? I forgot.
Kevin
Kevin
Nash.
Oh, okay.
Kevin Nash beat Goldberg with a taser. They sacrificed the most undefeated, most dominant streak ever, only for 8 days later to do the finger poke of doom on TV.
When they advertised Goldberg and Kevin Nash as the rematch, and then I guess Goldberg got arrested
Yeah.
in kayfabe.
Also, by the way, by that time, WCW was already losing like consistently.
Oh yeah, that was like the ether. That was it. You're done.
Of course.
They were
No,
losing.
I'm just saying.
They
I'm just
haven't
saying.
won. They
that
hadn't won since October.
This is just food for thought for the chat. I just find it funny
Just
You're
lying.
nasty.
how
Oh,
Bret
no.
Hart,
This man being nasty.
whether he was in WWF or WCW, always found himself on the losing side of the ratings. That's just some food for thought. Hey, because they got Bret up out of there. They got Bret up out of there. We got Mr. McMahon character, and you know what I mean. Things starting to turn around.
I mean, they were already starting to get better before Bret left. So I mean,
Yeah, 97 was actually a good year for WWE.
it was a really good year. Yeah,
So they were already starting to
better
progress.
than '99. Goddamn it.
97 better than 99?
'99 is not
99 was
is the
fast.
worst year of the Attitude Era easily.
Hey, I'm just giving food for thought for all my G maniacs out there, man.
Let's
No.
not work too, I guess.
There's no food
No,
for
no,
thought.
not even that. No.
Nitro didn't even come out to 95.
I'll probably say maybe 01. 01 was kind of the whole invasion.
Those first 4 months though.
But the invasion angle?
Well, no, that part is like iffy, but like the first 4 months of 2001,
Sure. But you could honestly probably say the same for 99. Like
Peak.
the builds and stuff. Like their WrestleManias and their overall shows may not have been bad, but I mean, 99 in terms of their characters and popularity was crazy, bro. Like,
someone said the level of hoop jumping just to play.
Like, bro, they didn't have 95. Stop lying. Like, you're just lying.
yeah, it was
The
different.
way he pulled all the strings together to blame Bret is
Like,
hilarious.
bro,
Crazy
92,
work. Nasty work.
93,
Bro.
94, 95. The WCW wasn't winning shit because they're almost
They're
as
both
bad.
ass.
Like,
No, they weren't as great at that time either. They weren't as
Go
great. in
watch
that particular
Uncensored
time
90
frame.
The Dungeon of Doom, nigga.
Dungeon of Doom.
The Yeti, yeah, we're
Yeah,
so
hey, dog. Oh my god, they had big show.
Oh, the Yeti. I forgot about that, bro.
What it sounded like is these bars was just in hell
Yeah,
for a good minute. So if these bars was already in hell,
Nah, but like the work he's doing, you can compare it to some of the best stuff ever.
What is the point of your bars in hell thing? What does that mean?
I'm saying if the bar is already in hell, I'll put it like this: it's a
Completely-
lot easy. It's easier for you to step on the first rung of the ladder than to try to get to the top rung of the ladder, right?
You just yapping, bro. You
Sure, no, I don't.
Right,
Okay, I don't
right.
disagree with you.
Right,
But
it's a lot easier.
you
It's
compare-
if you got to jump over. It's hey, look from my athletes out there. From my athletes out there, I don't care who you are. It could be Steph Curry. It's a lot easier to make a wide open layup than it is to make a wide open three, right?
I mean,
It's a lot easier to make. It's a lot easier to make a wide open layup than it is to make a wide open three, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. So if the bar's already in hell, they was making wide open layups as opposed to making wide open threes.
Okay, but what I'm saying with Bret, the work he produced, you can compare to a lot of the best stuff that the main event scene has ever had, not just the 90s or the new generation. You compare that shit to a lot of the shit we got. Like the Owen and Bret feud is one of the best feuds they've ever done.
ever.
Bret and Shawn, I don't think I have to explain that one. Bret and Austin, don't have to explain that one. Like,
Bret had good stories with pretty much anybody. He worked with
he-
Mr. Perfect, Mr. Bulldog.
if Kevin Nash's best ever match.
Hey, I'm not saying he.
Yeah,
ain't got
even
no
gave
good
Kevin Nash his best work.
I'm not saying he ain't got no good stories. I'm not saying he ain't got no good matches. I'm just,
You just saying nothing.
You a different breed.
Fucking yapping.
Hey,
And
man.
they said you
Like I
play.
said.
They say you play the underdog gimmick better than Sami Zayn.
Hey,
I ain't gonna lie,
I am though, cause Sami Zayn that nigga.
You need to
But yeah,
stop.
hey, shout out to all my G maniacs in the chat, man. I'm just
Last thing.